bring the meeting to order. It's 11 o'clock. And we have some guests today.
Are the mics strong enough?
They're just for the camera, so they won't play back to the room.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just curious because they seem so far away.
Quiet. Oh.
Yeah, they'll pick you up, but it's just
Okay.
the camera.
Forgive me.
We'd like to welcome Madhavi. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Madhi Venkatesan. I'm here as a representative of Sustainable Practices. Susanna Nickerson is also a representative of Sustainable Practices. She represents us in Chatham.
What kind of practices?
Sustainable
Oh,
Practices.
sustainable. Good.
We are a nonprofit organization located on Cape Cod. Last year, some of you may be familiar with us. With the help of the Wellfleet Recycling Committee, for Wellfleet specifically, we passed a municipal plastic bottle ban. In most of the towns in which we passed it, which was a total of 11 of the 15 that comprise Barnstable County, we passed both portions of the municipal ban, which basically excludes town purchase of single-use plastic bottled beverages of any size, of any content, and also excludes the sale of beverages in single-use plastic containers on town property. The majority of towns pass the second component. Wellfleet is complying with the second component, but it's not part of your original bylaw. So right now what we are doing is we're focusing on a commercial ban, and that's why we've been nicely invited to come and speak to that. Some of you may see that particular draft language available to you here, and we're happy to share other copies if you need it. And I'll wait until my time comes up on the agenda.
Okay. Let's go around the room and introduce ourselves.
Lonnie Briggs.
Mike Sicali.
Chris Wisniewski.
Christine Shreve.
Jane Shaw.
Lydia Vivante.
Susanna Nickerson.
And we have Peter Lynch is observing. You're welcome to participate. A little closer.
Yeah, come here. Come here.
The first item on our agenda, does anyone else have any announcements? So the first item, which we can hold, I think we should hold off to the end just because we have other items and we want to make sure that everyone is here. The second item on the agenda is a Swamp Shop pop-up art show proposal, and Megan Hinton was going to be here but couldn't make it today. So she sent a letter, and I'm just going to read that because I don't have copies for everyone. The Swap Shop show, Dear Wellfleet Recycling Committee, I spoke to Lydia recently about proposing a pop-up art exhibit at the Swap Shop sometime in the near future. My proposal entails acting as a curator for a group of 10 to 20 Wellfleet visual artists to gather materials at the swap to make a work of art. I envision making a requirement that roughly 95% of materials for the assemblage, sculpture, or experimental work be from the swap. The other 5% for glue, screws, etc. After an extended making period granted to the artist, I would propose clearing out the swap of all contents to transform it into a temporary gallery space, then have an opening reception for the public to see the works in context. My vision is multifaceted. First, it creatively allows artists to use and repurpose the materials that the swap is available for art making and contradicts traditional notions of buying expensive materials to make art. The idea is something informal and found with a history of use, and then it goes on, and I'll send this to everybody for full reading. So the question is about getting approval to clear out the swap shop for the event, which seems like a momentous undertaking.
Sounds like a good idea.
A very good idea. Too bad we're not ready to move into a new one.
Enforce declutter.
Enforce declutter, yes. And gain approval from all town entities, select board, DPW, etc. So I will forward that to everybody. Does anybody have any comments?
There'd probably be a use of town property form, so that would, and also just working with Roland Blair, who's the swap shop coordinator, and obviously the DPW.
Right.
So there'd be permissions to get and
Okay.
all kinds of logistics and what to do with everything.
That would be my first question.
Where to put it?
Yeah, well, it's a building's worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're out of buildings.
Right.
Could it be stored temporarily and put back in after the art show, or?
Could the art show be somewhere else?
I think the idea was the swap shop in particular, just because of the materials come from their free materials, using materials from.
And you
from
have
the
to,
swap.
so then
Maybe
your
we
art
could-
show is in the swap shop, so then there's no effective swap shop for
A period
a period of time.
Do you have
And
any?
it doesn't, that doesn't necessarily matter to me, but I know that the swap shoppers might have something
Yeah,
to say
they
about
might
that.
have things to
so-
say about that.
Yes.
And it'd
indeed.
have to be done in warm weather, presumably.
I think she's talking about September or something.
Okay,
So
yeah.
good weather.
Right.
Well, maybe we could do it like a tent outside of the swap shop or something.
Yes. That's a, yeah. Yeah.
It would be, I think proceeds from any sales would perhaps benefit the program, swap shop.
Okay.
So, but she sounds like she's, will be back in the spring. Is that the sense?
Yes, she's getting her master's in California. And so I won't be back until June, and then she'll begin organizational duties.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just a
Plenty of
matter of
time.
any comments, and then I suppose we can back to her with your suggestions on getting approval. Um,
Would it be possible to have some kind of a marquee that extended out from the swap shop? I'm just wondering about the space. I don't go to the dump because I don't drive, but would that be the idea, or are you thinking of a separate structure? Canvas?
Well, from what I understand, it's the idea is to empty the swap shop and use the interior.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing is that might not be the greatest idea.
Well, we can let her know what the input is and see what she
Yeah.
has in mind.
You can talk to the swap shop volunteers, I would say, and get their
Yes.
input for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And since it's in June, there's plenty of time to. Okay. Next item on the agenda is an announcement. The next Boomerang Bag Sewing Bee is on Thursday, January 9th, 2 to 5. And Lydia, do you know if it's moving from Fridays to Thursdays regularly, or is this?
No, there's just a couple of Thursdays, and then it's going to continue with Fridays.
Okay.
So they're going to stagger it.
Alrighty. The next event is the 3rd annual Fix It Clinic on January 11th, 2 to 5.
Yeah, that's this weekend, everybody. So-
Yes, indeed. I hope you're.
I said I'd be there, but
Is
I'm
an
not.
artist still
I'm not.
working?
I'm not a. Yes, it is.
Good.
But I'm not a fix-it person. I mean,
Well, it's a community event
it's
too.
Jed's sort of arranging.
You can bring refreshments. Keep us going.
I'm not responding to that.
Okay. As you shouldn't. That's the skill I need to learn. The 5th item is the plastic bottle ban and NIPS water bottle resolution. So regarding the plastic bottle ban in talks with Sustainable Practices next year, the municipal ban was sort of our first step, and then with the idea of leading into all the towns adopting a Cape-wide commercial plastic bottle ban this year. This is our first meeting where we're discussing it, and Madhavi, why don't you introduce what you're proposing?
Sure. We've already started the filing process. As of last week, we filed in Yarmouth. So far this week, we filed in Chatham, but we'll be filing in Brewster, as well as several other towns. And forgive me, I just off the top of my head can't remember all of them. Falmouth and Sandwich will be filed this week as well. We'll be filing in Eastham by the end of the week. And then obviously a few other towns. I'm meeting with NASA Interfaith Association because they have a leadership position in 8 of the lower Cape towns, including the Mid Cape. Our biggest weakness point, if I could say it, is the upper Cape, which is Mashpee Bourne. But we have a relationship in Mashpee, and we're also facilitating a relationship right now in Bourne. Dennis Recycling is actually working with us, so we hope that we will be able to use some of their interests in promoting the commercial ban. 11 towns passed the municipal ban. 4 did not. So the 4 that did not, we are pursuing the municipal ban in the spring, because obviously that needs to be the first step.
Was it voted down or it wasn't raised?
We never filed.
Never filed. Okay.
So we will be filing in those 4 towns, and we believe that they will pass. One of the towns is Barnstable. Barnstable will also be the last town we probably file the commercial ban in, and that's for obvious reasons. The momentum from all the other smaller towns will help us with the Barnstable ban. On top of that, Barnstable is a closed town meeting, so we really need to push from the population in to the actual representatives. So we have a strategy in place there. Specific to the plastic ban, and I think you have a copy of the proposed language. If you don't mind, just maybe some of
there's
you
some
can
copies
share it. The blank obviously is where the town's name would be. But it is a fairly simple.
Is the language
Yes,
on
it
the
is.
top of the petition
Mhm,
the
it
same
is,
as
yeah.
that?
It's exactly the same, except Wellfleet is in there. But just to go through this with you, the effective date would be September 1st of 2021. And what we're asking is that it would be unlawful for non-carbonated, unflavored drinking water in single-use plastic bottles of less than 1 gallon to be sold within the town. And that the enforcement would start immediately as well, September 1st, 2021. The definition for plastic follows the definition that Wellfleet adopted in their municipal ban, which is plastic resin. There are exemptions, which are for emergency provisions only. The enforcement follows the Massachusetts general law, which means that we cannot go above $300 for a violation. So the first is a written warning, second violation, $150, third, $300. We have it set up so that if a person continues to have a violation, they would be charged every day for full amount of that violation. Since this would be notified to the general public almost a year in advance, there should be no need for violation. This is also under the duty of the manager, the town manager, so we're not prescribing how this would be enforced, but we're giving the enforcement responsibility to the town manager. The language in this follows two different bylaws, one from Great Barrington and the other from Martha's Vineyard. So one question you may have is, why are we limiting it to below 1 gallon? Distilled water is sold in single-use plastic bottles of 1 gallon in size. And unfortunately, most commercial enterprises that use distilled water do not have alternative means. So we did not, and distilled water obviously is non-flavored and non-carbonated, so it would fall within the guidelines of the beverage. So that's why we have that exclusion. The most important thing is that this, in and of itself, would eliminate almost half a grocery store line of plastic bottled water products. And this obviously has more of an impact in towns like Orleans, Harwich, Sandwich, and Falmouth, and Barnstable, where that is a large portion of the revenue. The biggest challenge we face, most people would say we would face, would be the commercial sale. But we have right now a very positive feeling because we've been talking to local chambers. We'll be addressing the local Chamber of Commerce and the Executive Committee in February. We have support from the local chambers, which means that small businesses operating within the Cape understand and appreciate the issues related to single-use plastic bottles. The biggest pushback we will have, and this is where it's the most important, will be probably those big, large grocery chains and convenience store chains. Those chains dominate every town and every community all across the United States. If we can pass, in spite of them being in towns, we will start a process that could potentially eliminate this product across the United States. And why does it need to be eliminated? I think most of us understand the adverse consequences of plastic, but the bigger issue, the bigger selling point here is that it's also bringing up a concept of conscious consumerism, that we really need to think about what we're consuming. So for example, I'm a professor, I don't know all of you know me, but I teach economics. Yesterday was the first day of classes at Northeastern. I asked, in my classes I only teach special topics courses, and this was, a question I asked was important because I was trying to bring up the perspective of what's normative to us. I asked them, how many of you know somebody who's had cancer? Every single student, every class I went to raised their hand. When I was their age, I didn't know one person who had cancer. What we consume is causing a lot of the health consequences around us, but we have normalized it slowly as though it's okay, that this is the way life is. This is the time, for a variety of reasons, that we can start to raise consciousness and people starting to think about what we have normalized. And plastic is just one simple example, but it's the most tangible one because it is the most pervasive and the one that we have just started to use without any question as to whether or not it is safe for use in the ways that it's being used. So there are many elements of this that we were happy to speak to you about as a communications document. But obviously, the sophistication of what you say depends on who you're talking to, because some people have a very narrow concentration span. Some people don't care at all. Some people will just follow the law, and other people already know and want and embrace this happening. So there is a messaging document as well that we have. It's a very simple one. I'll pass this out to you. Staples accidentally printed it in color. Normally we don't print anything in color. But anyway, this messaging document is just meant to serve whenever we ask for signatures, which we do. We solicit signatures in every town where we are filing. And so it gives people a general understanding of why we're filing this ban, and includes bioplastics. So the number one reason why we're including bioplastics is there's not an active composting market on a localized basis on the Cape. In order to be able to use PLA-based products, you need to have commercial composting available so that the stacks go up to 140 degrees. So ideally, what we're looking at for our 2021 initiative is to establish commercial composting at DPW stations across the Cape, because it's much more efficient done on a small scale, and also at the same time have elimination of single-use plastic. Because the great thing about compostable ware is that it can be commingled with food waste, which means that it can be easily dumped in a composting heap together, all in one. But if you have any single-use plastic there, you've contaminated that compost. So it makes logical sense, because you actually are creating a closed-loop system. So each one of these things, the municipal ban first, which basically tells us that towns are supportive of an elimination of plastic, then the commercial bans, which take us the next step further, that people are protecting their own town. And the third one, saying let's have a closed-loop system with regard to our convenience consumption only when we need to use convenience, would be the elimination of single-use plastic and the adoption of composting. That would be our 4-year plan, so to speak. Next year, we're going to clean up wherever we haven't finished up the commercial ban, make sure we have those in place, but we're working simultaneously on composting. We won't be able to obviously push for a single-use plastic ban until we actually have some composting in place, because that gives us the validation for pushing for it. So we do have a strategy for everything we do. Unfortunately, people don't have a lot of time to always listen to everything we want to share. But if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to share them with you. But fundamentally, the goal is to increase economic literacy to the point that people understand that prices are not efficient, that prices only embody exploitation of something that doesn't have a voice. And the more people start to understand that, the more people will understand that somebody is subsidizing our consumption, whether it be our future health or somebody in another country or the environment itself. Thank you.
I've noticed at some local markets that they are offering wine in cans, water in cans, more and more. So if you see some small displays, especially near the checkout, it's almost 50-50 plastic. It's not, sometimes more aluminum and glass than plastic, depending on the store.
Yeah, we found that most retailers, especially the small retailers, understand this is coming, that this change is happening, and they'd rather be already set on the forefront of that change. U.S. Foods, for example, does sell canned water. So U.S. Food is one of the big distributors.
In gallon containers?
In cans. So it would substitute.
I'm thinking about when you were talking about the gallon containers of water that people use. But a lot of people on the Cape can't use the water from their wells. Have you thought about what the alternative container of a gallon size should be?
We haven't excluded gallon containers in this bylaw. So the bylaw does not apply to gallon containers. It applies to anything less than a gallon container.
Right, but I'm thinking I mean, I think you said yourself there's a huge sale in gallon containers of distilled water.
Yes.
So those people will need to buy.
This does not include that, though. This includes anything of less than a gallon.
No, but I'm thinking in the long-term future of getting rid of plastic.
We need to get rid of this. We need to take.
Yes.
I'll take care of this step first, and then we'll worry about that step.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that when it comes to distilled water, you can put in a system within the business that would actually allow for the distillation process to occur. The problem is we have to raise people's consciousness and awareness so that they're willing to take on that capital expenditure, understanding that the long-term benefits of it are much greater than the short-run costs. But first, it's an educational campaign.
And also, it's really geared at just convenience, not people not bringing their reusable bottles. Is a very easy solution. But you're right, a lot of people I know
Yeah, a lot of people
don't drink their water.
So
Can't.
my concern about this in the past and continues to become a worry is that sometimes it could make people go to the carbonated beverages, the sugary drinks that aren't good,
That would only occur if people believe that some beverage is better than water. I mean, that part is a substitute element, which I don't think there's any evidence to actually show that's true. When you want a glass of water, a glass of Coke isn't a substitute. Typically, people are drinking water for consciousness
Let's
purposes.
hope not. I mean,
I'm sorry?
let's hope not.
Well, the other thing
Yeah.
is when you drink a carbonated beverage that has sugar in it, you actually become more thirsty. Have you ever noticed? If you drink Coca-Cola, you'll actually become more thirsty. The bottom line is this has got to be a behavioral change that shouldn't be too difficult because most of us lived in a time when there was no convenience-based water. So
But why aren't we thinking of single-use carbonated beverages?
because municipal water is not accessible in carbonated form. So in terms of people asking what is it that we could substitute away from if we don't purchase it, it would be municipal water is available to you free of charge. You drink it in your home.
Yeah.
Why don't you carry a reusable bottle of it yourself? So the rationale for limiting it to something that was non-carbonated and non-flavored is typically because when you go to a drinking fountain or
Yes,
a water
yes.
refill station, it is non-carbonated and non-filtered. I mean, non-flavored, excuse me.
But in terms of getting rid of plastic, we want to discourage anybody putting drinks in plastic bottles, don't we? Any kind of drinks.
Yes. But again, if you have a substitute that's easily available for no price, which is what we're working on right now, we are working with TAP, which is an app. You can download it on your phone and you can locate any municipal or retail outlet that would be willing to give you free drinking water. We're working with them to map out free drinking water sources in every community. What we're going to come across is what am I supposed to use if I can't buy bottled water? Municipal water is there. So we're looking at taking a sequential step where we can cover the bases because there are alternatives to plastic bottled drinking water, that are available for reusable drinking bottles. So it's a sequential step because if we don't take it step by step, we will not be able to pass. The goal is to pass. The goal is to pass so that we have enough press that we can then take this step another step further. Because once you start to raise people's consciousness, they start to put these factors into play themselves. So in many, many communities and many towns across the Cape, because we go to all of them, we started to find that retailers have started to substitute away from single-use plastic bottles. There are a few of them that believe that somehow their profitabilities are going to be limited, but the reality is, from an economic perspective, it's a 50-cent differential between an aluminum can and a plastic bottle can. A person who is a tourist is not going to make a decision based on 50 cents. It is too small a number. Additionally, if you've eliminated the plastic across the board, they don't have a choice. That's it. That's why having to do this all at one time is really important. As much of it as it becomes a hodgepodge of who complies, then we have an issue. So we have to do it across the board. If every retailer in your community is no longer selling single-use plastic, the fact that the price goes up by 50 cents just normalizes that increase in 50 cents.
You said that you have support of local chambers.
We can speak specifically to Eastham. We'll know what the other chambers are. I'll be able to report that back within the next week. Not next week, by mid-February, because we will be finishing up our meetings with them. But the chambers only represent those businesses that are registered with them. So it only gives us a mirroring of how they feel about the plastic ban and how it may affect their revenue stream. But the reality is, the revenue today is being created based on a cost in the future. So citizens hopefully can start to realize that we're not affecting revenue, we're just subsidizing their profitability with long-term environmental health.
Yeah, we understand that,
Yeah.
but a business who's looking at their yearly.
But most local
Profits.
businesses are made up of local citizens, so that's
Yeah.
where it makes sense. The corporations, they're not made up of local citizens, so that's the bigger issue.
Yeah.
And that's where we think we will have significant problems.
And Martha's Vineyard, the town of West Tisbury approved it. And at the town meeting, you can watch a video on YouTube. I think I sent it to the committee.
Yeah.
And one of the business owners was a proponent of the bylaw. So he had a small store and said it was time to do it.
But the town of Martha's Vineyard only passed 3, and there are many towns in between. Their ban is on all beverages in single-use plastic containers of less than 1 liter, so it includes soda. There are similarities and there are differences. We are trying to get rid of one thing across the Cape, so it's a little different. They don't have the same kind of issues that we're going to face in terms of large commercial distributors in the towns that they pass the bylaws in. So we will face that problem. But we actually have a relationship with the Martha's Vineyard kids because we showed a film, the One Big House, Thomas Baina's film. His daughter was part of that group. So the teacher in that class who led the kids last year actually reached out to us to say she would be willing to help us. So, but we're trying to recruit Cape Cod kids. It's probably better to have Cape Cod kids than Martha's Vineyard kids.
There's one thing you mentioned about the composting, which I think we should clarify. In our experience, the PLA and plant-based plastics are not compostable in small-scale windrow operations. They're only compostable in large-scale industrial facilities that go to a really high heat. We went to Compost With Me in Falmouth, and I think there she wasn't accepting the PLA plastics.
She's too small. She's too small. We went to Manchester by the Sea, which there's a company called, oh my goodness, no, I can't remember their name. We went there, Black Earth Composting. Black Earth Composting operates on a 2-acre facility that's part of the DPW in Manchester by the Sea. It is a commercial composting facility, so they have piles. They use animal waste to get the heat in the piles up to that 140 degrees. They turn the piles, and they also have a, what's it called, when you tear something up, shredder, commercial shredder. That's where they brought up the idea to us how it's important to actually eliminate the single-use plastic. So we are talking about a commercial facility, but you don't need that much land mass to do it, especially if you do it town by town, because then also the citizens of that town can go and pick up that compost for their use. So those are all very positive elements, and you've created a closed-loop system, so now people are in touch with this. But it does open up one other big question, which is about antibiotics used in animals. Because you're using animal waste. That means that antibiotic that may be in animal waste could end up being in that compost. So it takes us to the next level, which is about humanity itself and our humanitarian responsibility to the fair treatment of animals. So that is an opening spot right there for us to take us to our next venture. But that's something to take into consideration.
So does that facility in Manchester by the Sea accept PLA?
They accept anything that has the actual commercial composting stamps on it. Not all PLA does. So I have the specific codes. You have to look at the specific codes, just like recycling itself, that all of them may have a little triangle. Not all of them are recyclable. The same thing goes with the so-called compostable materials.
Right.
And it can take, with the ability to shred, it can take 3 months, which typically would take 6 months. Because now you can break it down to smaller parts, which makes it easier. But they have commingled food waste.
And Watts Family Farm, they're the ones that's currently taking the residential food waste from Wellfleet and other Cape Cod towns. As far as I know, they've limited it to organics, food waste, and napkins. And that's
Very
it.
strict about what they want and what they don't want.
And they do not take PLA.
No, and I think it's again just because of the type of operation it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
They took animal food waste at the facility at Manchester by the Sea too. So that also reduces quite a bit because that's actually higher weight, I think, than the vegetation-based food waste. So, and you don't have to worry about separating it out. That's a good thing. But that is a year into the future.
Yes.
Right now, it's the commercial single-use plastic water bottle ban that is our agenda item, and we could really use your support. You helped us last time, but the one thing that we have a stipulation for this time is we cannot change or augment the language. Last time, the augmentation of language was understood because we were actually regulating municipal operations. We are regulating commercial operations, and those commercial operations need to be regulated from a standardized manner. Because a non-standardized manner will allow them to relocate their operations, and that would defeat the purpose. The other thing is we don't stipulate anything except less than 1 gallon for a simple reason. When you start to put in all these other elements, you create loopholes too. The more you define something, the greater the loophole you create for it. So that's the other reason we only limit it to non-carbonated, non-flavored drinking water and single-use plastic containers of less than 1 gallon. That's essentially it. That's all our bylaw is.
Are you concerned at all that flavored water is going to take over?
This is
You
one
mean flavoured,
year.
non-carbonated?
Well, you know, they
Yes,
have all
or
these
seltzer.
flavors in
Yeah.
non-sugary water
Yes.
that people seem to love. I think it's
Well, I think
possible.
I think we're looking at this as a sequential, one step at a time process. If you eliminate this and have an educational campaign alongside about the impact of this convenience single-use item, then hopefully you start to raise people's consciousness. But even if they do use that, hopefully they move to aluminum. Most of those items are canned already. The carbonated beverages typically are canned, not necessarily put in plastic. So that's the one benefit. Moving them towards aluminum would be better. But this is not the end. This is just the beginning. So look at it from this way. If we get this passed, then we can look at the next step. But the thing is, we have to be able to raise people's consciousness and awareness about the health impacts of what they consume as well, so that we put the decision in their hands, and hopefully they make the right decision for not only themselves, but the future. So this is not the end. It is a multi-step process because we have had multi-years of uneducating our public. It's going to take a while to educate them too.
Do they do it better in California?
And I know they picked up our story in San Francisco, so I think they're looking to us too. We were in the Cape Cod Times on December 16th. That story got picked up by the Associated Press and made it to the San Francisco Chronicle and the USA Today. So I think that a lot more people are interested in our story because there are not a whole lot of single-use plastic water bottle bans in the United States. And the one that they have in San Francisco is a municipal ban. So it started off just like we did last year. The commercial bans are very few and far between.
The town of Concord did it first, I think.
Do they?
Well, they were the first to do it in the United States, and we're very fortunate because they're partnered with us. So hopefully we'll see some letters coming from Great Barrington, Sudbury, Concord, all in favor of our plastic ban efforts here this year. We're reaching out to every single group we know because we want the noise to be loud. It is the only way we're going to win. We just got an email a couple days ago from Oregon. A group there wants to institute a ban, plastic single-use water bottle ban. They asked if we would work with them. The benefit for us is what I was hoping, which is that the Cape could be a leader in what needs to happen nationwide. And it really has to happen here in the United States more than any other place because we are singularly responsible for the majority of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. From 1875 to 2011, the United States contributed over 27% on a cumulative basis of greenhouse gases in the upper atmosphere. The next highest is 25%, and that's all the EU countries combined. So people talk about China and India and all these other countries, but the one thing that's neglected in all of that is the emissions that they create are based on products that are going to be exported to developed country markets. So those emissions should be counted against us because we're buying those products. Those products would not be made without our demand for them. And they would not probably be offshored to those countries if companies weren't trying to circumvent domestic regulations. So this is an American problem. We created it, and we need to be the ones to help solve it.
So are you specifically asking if we will propose this article?
Yes, we will be proposing this article regardless, okay? We would love to do it with you. We would love this article to be something you supported, that the language would be what you would adopt to. For just standardized reasons, we need the same language in every community. I hope you don't mind that we're not trying to usurp any town's authority with regard to regulating within. But in order to in order for it to have the merit that we are looking for, it has to be uniform across all towns.
Right. Any thoughts or comments?
Well, you'll be, I guess, when is the warrant? They're beginning to work on it now, the town meeting warrant. Our town meeting is April 27th.
I could tell you exactly, we have all the dates set.
Yeah.
Our goal is to get everything done by the end of this month. We will have at least 8 of them done by the end of next week.
Uh-huh.
You mean all of them? So can we, I know there's a deadline for when
February
we
20th.
can.
Your deadline is
our
February
deadline is
20th.
February 20th for citizen submissions.
Yeah, and then we can, at that time, we could probably, once it's been placed in the warrant, we could decide then whether we want to endorse it. It would be, you know, how.
Oh, I see what you're saying. We can go ahead
And all
yeah.
the articles, they'll be underneath, it'll say endorsed by Conservation Commission, Recycling Committee, or
Right.
whatever group
Yeah.
is pertinent. So, I
I
think
mean,
it's, yeah.
presumably there wouldn't be any reason why we wouldn't, as long as we don't
Right.
see anything in the language that would
Yeah,
we think is inappropriate for our town.
Since you're familiar with the language in Martha's Vineyard and Concord, this language follows very closely suit. Concord is a very old regulation, and it had issues, so we picked new regulation to mimic for the simple reason that it's simpler. More and more people understand this issue today, so we kept it very straightforward and easy, and for most general comprehension. We really appreciate your thinking about it and looking it over. And if you have any questions, just letting us know about it, and we'll be happy to address them.
Okay.
But more than anything, Christine, thank you so much for letting me come and inviting me. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that a lot.
Sure. Anything else on that topic? I mean, the options are we have until our next meeting to read it and then vote on it, or we can take some action today. Do you have any thoughts, Lydia?
well, Beth Bramer, I know, is someone who really endorses this, so she's
Right.
not here today.
Yeah.
Might be good to.
And Beth is the one that recommended we get in touch with you since she's not here.
Yeah.
So I know that she endorses it. Anybody have any thoughts on whether we take a vote today to submit it as an article for town meeting?
I'd be happy to vote today.
I think so as well. Okay.
Are you saying we don't have enough? We have a quorum.
Oh yeah, we are. Yeah. I have no problem with that. So. I'll make the motion. I make a motion that we accept the commercial single-use plastic water bottle ban language provided by Sustainable Practices as an article, citizen petitioned article for a town meeting of this year.
Seconded?
All those in favor? Okay.
Thank you very
There
much.
were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. Okay. So, alrighty.
I think it's exciting to
Yeah.
try to get the whole cake.
You know, when you're actually doing the work, the excitement isn't so much there. Because every day you're rejected by somebody. We stand outside on street corners, and we were in Yarmouth, and you know, it's hard because not everybody understands or gets it. It's
Yeah.
amazing how much information we read that's aligned to our own interests.
Yeah.
And if you're not
Really.
interested in environmental issues,
Yeah.
you don't know anything about what's going on.
Yeah. Well, it's not a hard sell in this town. Usually, everybody's ahead of the regulations. So tell us about the petition. How does that? This is for the signatures that we need.
Yes,
When
we only
we
need 10
file.
signatures to be on town meeting
Right.
warrant,
Mhm.
and we will wait to solicit your individual ones until an
Okay.
appropriate time when we're not
Alrighty.
on asking for anything unusual.
Mhm.
But We are actually obviously getting more than 10,
Right.
but we also realize from an economic perspective the utility of gaining too many accessory signatures. You just want to
Yeah.
make sure that you have enough redundancies just in case something isn't legible.
Yeah.
So
And obviously, we want people in town to support.
yes. What we need next is, and what we're working on next, is a letter writing campaign, which some of you may be familiar with. We did this last year. We had a few hundred letters that went to the Cape Cod Times and all the local papers related to the municipal ban. We only had one negative letter. Unfortunately, one negative letter sometimes captures a lot more attention than hundreds of positive ones. We are assuming that we may get some negative letters this time, because this is a bigger fight. But if we didn't get any negative press, then we wouldn't get any press. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in a way, the negativity is welcomed, because if you go on and do anything and has no controversy, then perhaps what you're doing isn't that good to be doing, right? So we're open to the controversy. We don't necessarily see it as controversial, but in the end, it also brings up a whole lot of philosophical aspects of how you look at your life, right? Which a lot of people just don't sit back and think about. What is the purpose of our consumption? So, I mean, I won't bring up the philosophy here, because I will, for the sake of time and your interests, I will defer to it for another period.
Okay.
But I think that answers your question. We did change the explanation here slightly from the municipal ban, because we wanted to make sure that bioplastics were also engaged. So people have a misconception about bioplastic as being positive. As we just discussed, bioplastic only has a positive element if you can industrially compost it. Otherwise, it has the same adverse consequences as standard petroleum-based plastics. It will be adverse to the environment. And this was actually brought up not by me, but Patrick Otten, who is our filer in Harwich. So we made sure that we incorporated that in this.
Okay.
Thank you very much again.
Well, thank you.
May we stay
Yeah.
for a few more minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
for as long as you like.
Yeah. I'm still concerned about the sodas being acceptable and the water not. So that's something that definitely bothers me.
I have no problem with doing it one step at a time. Particularly, I totally agree that Cape-wide consistency is key. And I mean, we can always go another step in Wellfleet afterwards, the next year or something. But you know, like you said, we'll put down who it's approved by, and then we can vote again when it's time to say which committees vote for approval. Okay, so before we go any further, and I don't want your radio to go off and you have to run
turned it
away.
off already, yeah.
Oh, okay. So let's skip ahead just to
Sure.
see if there's anything that you would like to share with us. Or
I have one thing to share that was really good news. It's still preliminary, but I was looking into what our contamination rates were for Wellfleet for the recycling, and probably expecting them to be somewhere between 10 and 20%. And I was talking with our vendor, and they said that we're probably under 10%. He's going to look into it further and get me a kind of a whole report, but as of right now, he said that's pretty fair, which is amazing.
that's very good.
We have not had one rejected load. We have not had any of our loads downgraded to a lesser, more expensive product. And I asked him, do other communities that you pick up from, did they run into these problems? And he goes, yeah, sure, we've had, some other issues before. So even with all this recycling.
Did he name names?
No. And they're an off-Cape company, so it's not like it's our neighbors or anything like that. But basically, we did a heck of a job last year. So
Awesome.
the town
Congratulations.
really came through and
That's great.
did the right thing, and our recycling is top-notch as far as much as it could be.
And that's across all of the different streams?
We've not had any issues with any of the stuff that we've shipped out, even with all this China National Sword stuff. So it's pretty miraculous, actually.
Yeah, congratulations to you.
Yeah, well, it's the people, staff out there that educates the people, the flyers that you guys made, and basically just like you were talking about, an American issue, trying to make it You know,
Yes.
this isn't me telling you to do something. This
Right.
is a national problem.
Absolutely.
You all got to pull through this.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. So when I get the final, yes or no, I can probably give you some more accurate information. But as of right now, at least know that our recycling is no problems.
Excellent.
So
Good.
yeah.
That brings up a question. We wanted to reprint the Recycle Smart Cards, and I know that Chris has already been in touch with you. But did anybody ask you if you have any left?
Yeah, I have a few left. Yeah, but we
few.
have been giving them out,
Okay.
especially when people buy the new stickers from us,
Okay.
and they're great. They're,
All right.
they're really good. So.
Okay. So then the next question is, does the DPW have a color printer where we can?
I don't know. I think they probably do, but I don't know if they print the card stock.
Yeah,
You know,
not all printers do.
Okay.
but I'll look into it. I'll see what we
Okay.
can do.
Alrighty. And then the next question, if not, is there a possibility of like cost sharing? Like last time we paid for
I'll
printing.
I'll ask because they do work really well, and it's kind of short
Right.
money.
Yeah.
And obviously we've had some results that were
Yes.
positive. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
And
look into that.
Lydia, you had brought up the idea of a tax insert for spraying.
Yeah.
That would
Maybe
be
a,
really good.
something that goes out to every citizen, which I
Mhm.
think would be very effective. Would have to be a downsized
Right.
something, but
Yeah, and
Or
aside
both
from-
sides.
I think the bulky rigid plastic, all of that stuff on there is standardized across the board. It doesn't matter
Right.
who picks up your recycling. It's all based on that
Right.
state list. So.
yes.
Be a good thing to get to the chamber so they can give it to all the rental people.
Yeah, for sure.
Or, I don't know, maybe a lot of them are mostly getting pickup rather than dropping off at the train station, but.
I've seen a little change in that in the visitors starting to kind of get the idea of what actually goes in the bin. I think that the hardest thing right now is that a lot of them do have pickup, and a lot of those towns, when you have curbside pickup, they want to go single stream for efficiency. So just the separation that we do here is really the hitch. But I think I'm seeing a trend that they're knowing what to put in and what not to put in.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the tanglers.
Yeah,
that
which is
keep that
good.
out
Yeah.
and all that
Mhm.
stuff.
That's
Yeah.
great.
The tax bill, of course, goes in a business size envelope,
Yeah.
so it would have to be reformatted, but
Right.
Right, so it'd be a third of a page.
Yeah.
double sided. And
Yeah.
I noticed in this year's property tax bill, it's, they're using that cardstock again.
I know, I saw that.
So,
Maybe we can talk with
yeah.
whoever.
How much was it to do the last printing of this?
It's a couple $100.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
The tax inserts, we didn't know we had to pay for it the first year they went to this new vendor, and we got a bill for $300
Yeah, it's a
or
lot more than we
something.
were expecting.
So for our little $100 a year budget, that would kind of work.
It's a capital
Yeah.
expenditure.
Yeah, exactly. So we may ask, and
Yeah.
and I guess in future we'll be talking about budget at our next meeting. Hopefully we can put in our own budget, which is under DPW budget, some of these expenditures. But tax inserts I think would be very helpful.
And when do the tax bills go out? When would we?
I don't know.
There's
Have to find
twice
out.
a year. There's also an excise tax bill, which we used to piggyback into, but I'm not really sure if that's possible. That would be, I think, in the spring also. But that's, the town collector, I think, is the person to ask.
What else did we want to ask you? Oh yes, so the plastic bags, grocery bags, you had told us before that you were no longer collecting them because of contamination.
Yeah.
But did you say that you had arranged with Shaw's that you could bring large quantities around the bags?
That's what we had done before.
Okay.
Because of the quantity that I get just at the
Right.
municipal transfer station. But the program has existed there for years. But
Right.
They have it right in the front door with the
Yes,
little bins.
yes.
So that's what we're encouraging people to do because
Mhm.
the only thing I can do with the plastic bags now is you have to put them in the purple bag.
Right.
I don't have any place for them. So
Yes.
if you want to recycle them for free, bring them
That's
with you when you go
right.
shopping.
Okay.
But yeah, that program, I don't know how we could have done it any better either because I had the two summer guys, Lenny and Bruce, and they were on top of things. And
Yeah.
all it takes is one person to throw, in that kind of a niche market.
Yeah, for sure.
The other stuff that we have, we're doing really well with, but it's
Mhm.
much larger.
Right.
They just want the plastic bags and you
Mhm.
can't have anything else in
Right.
there. So.
And it has to be filmed too. So you have to,
Yeah, it can't be all the things that we found in there.
Yeah. You can have another board, another display
Yeah,
case.
yeah, well, we're working on it.
Okay.
Can it be heavier grade plastic than plastic?
No, we have I think, I don't know if we put that graphic up, I need to give it to you.
Yeah.
There's one from Trex who's.
Oh, that would be great.
Yes.
Yeah, if you could
So
get
I'll
that to
send
me, that would
to
be
you.
good.
Okay.
I
And they
actually have
have all the
something in my
types.
own
And Lydia
set
says
aside right
if
now.
if it stretches, it has to stretch.
Okay.
Like
right,
things that
perfect.
nuts come in, things like that are heavier plastic are not
Yeah.
recycled.
Yeah, potato chip bags, those are more Mylar.
Yeah.
It's on their
Right.
website.
So
plastic
there are
film.
heavier plastics.
So it
that
has
are
to
not-
stretch,
Yeah, it's
sort
called plastic film.
Okay.
And it's a thinner.
This is our battle. Not all plastic is plastic.
The right kind.
Yeah.
So I'll send the tricks to
And
you.
nationwide, it's still just 9% of it that's getting recycled, so it's really,
It's-
so much is produced, they're just producing so much of it.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on, for Mike? I think, oh yeah, so we were told regarding our lost community cutlery items from the fire, we were told we have to put it in our budget. So I guess there's no reimbursement mechanism for loss through the town.
Yeah, I was just told to try to put it on the town meeting warrant and
Right,
try to get it approved that way.
yeah, so I guess we'll do that independently. Are you doing that for your items that you lost?
No,
or-
I don't have anything to do with
Okay.
that stuff. That all
Okay.
went through the
All right.
town.
All righty.
But that might be, if you got a line item in the town meeting, it might be a good time to think about what the town might be willing to get for you.
Well, that's the other thing I wanted to just find out from you. We talked about getting a new swap shop into the DPW budget at some point. I'm wondering, well, maybe that's something we should try to put under our own budget. I mean, is there, do you know if there's something in the works?
I don't know about this year. I mean, I don't necessarily see those budgets. I just hear
Right,
from higher ups, but
Yeah,
I don't know about this year or next
Okay.
year. I'll have to ask Mark.
and do you have like a plan of where it would go?
Yeah,
Once
I'm
we have the
actually
funding?
slowly kind of clearing that area out.
Okay,
Um,
And which
so
area
it's-
is that?
By the time that all gets through, we'll be
Mhm.
ready to go
okay,
for sure. I'm guessing though, based on like the numbers I've seen, the figures and things like that, it's going to be a lot like the library shed.
okay,
You know what I mean? That type of a steel building,
Right.
green,
Yeah.
sliding doors, big
Right.
doors, whatever.
right,
And then from there, talk to the volunteers and see
Right.
what it is. But it's anytime you start modifying it, the cost goes up,
Right.
probably more than they're going to want to spend.
right. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Good to see everyone.
You too.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you for coming.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Yeah, take care. Going on to programs and outreach. Community cutlery, library of things. So some staff members have here at the library are interested in starting a library of things. And what town was it? Did you have
Oh, Framingham has,
Framingham, yeah.
on their website, they have a whole catalog of items you can borrow. One of the most popular things is a VHS machine, because people still have some VHS tapes.
Mhm.
I looked at one library of things in, I think it was Santa Barbara, California. They offer battery-powered leaf blowers you can borrow. So there's all kinds of things that are made available to, and you check them out like you would a book. And
Yeah, some things have a deposit, and they have to have people in the community who can handle repairs. And anyway, so we're talking with them next week, I think it is, about sort of merging and growing our community cutlery program with sort of more expanded library of things, which we would of course need space to store things. And any ideas about what should be in there, we should start thinking about.
yeah,
Apparently Turo has, what was it? It was a little, like a little submarine, like
yeah,
control underwater camera thing that you can borrow from the library. Thought that was a very cool thing. Somebody donated. Anything else on that you want to add?
I find that leaf blower depressing, really. Why can't you just rake leaves?
Yeah.
All the noise and the...
Yeah.
it's a step up from the gas-powered ones.
Oh, well, that's true.
Oh, it's an electric, so it's not as noisy. Is
Yeah,
that
it's
what you said?
battery-powered.
Oh, battery.
Mhm.
Less noisy.
So it's quieter, but it still is mechanized. It's not raking.
Next thing on the agenda, the refill Wellfleet stations. We're kind of stuck in a bit with the one for town hall in terms of the cost of installation. There's not having funds for that, so I also have to get back in touch with the DPW to see if they've gotten an estimate or talked to a plumber about our request to consider a lawn location rather than on the building where they'd have to jackhammer out the cement pad that's currently there and go into the basement attached, but have not heard back yet, so I'll follow up on that. The marina station is there, the plumbing is ready, they're just waiting until spring to put it in because they weren't ready until late fall. Carry in, carry out update, do you have anything, Lydia?
There really isn't any update on that. No.
Okay. Instagram posts, Chris?
So I've put up a few other Instagram posts, both for events. Does anyone have a thing for the Fix It clinic that's for the clinic itself? The one I put up was looking for volunteers.
You can get it from the library website.
Yeah, Gabrielle
Okay.
would have it, so
Okay.
she can just send
Okay.
you, and if you tell her what size you want, or
Okay.
that, she'll send you that.
That sounds good.
Okay,
So I can do that.
okay.
So I've put up a couple of things about the recycling,
Mhm.
and one of the things was about prescription bottles, and there were some questions on that I suddenly found I couldn't answer myself, and I'm actually kind of confused about, even after talking to Mike again. So I need to be sure when I put things up that I really understand,
Right.
so that I can respond. So I don't know if
So what did I tell you?
Well, he said, and I asked Carrie too. I
Uh-huh.
sent an email to her. So the whole thing is prescription bottles you can't recycle.
Right.
Non-prescription bottles you can recycle.
Right.
I just asked
Wait a
Mike
minute, what's the difference?
Over the shelf.
over the shelf. So
It's-
if you over the
plastic
counter,
won't be that different, will it?
Well, it is, yeah.
No.
well, but Mike said nothing under 2 inches, whether it's prescription or not. So I said, well, what about large prescription bottles? And he just sort of looked at me. And Carrie kind of said the same thing. And it seems like there's not a clear answer with this. And I'm as confused now as
So,
everybody else.
yeah, so one thing that I've done in the past is they have a place where you can send emails to Recycle Smart, and they're very good about responding.
Okay.
But everything that I've read says that the number 5 prescription bottles
Those are the
Are not,
orange ones,
yeah.
right?
and that the over-the-counter are usually, is it 1 or 2? Now I can't remember. But they're a different resin.
So I'm just confused why they're calling out prescription bottles then, because that's a type of plastic, not what they're used for. So this is
Yeah.
one point where it just seems like there's not a very clear answer.
Well,
because
the
some
reason-
prescriptions come in gallon.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's,
And I think and that would be a good thing to ask
Yeah, okay,
Recycle
I
Smart.
will do that.
I don't know if you're up to that, but that'd be the best way
Okay.
to handle
You want
it.
to make sure they're empty too, because people
Yes.
leave stuff in, it's just not.
Yeah.
So the important thing
Everything's
is to get those pill bottles to the police station, drop them off there. There's a kiosk for the medicines themselves.
Yeah.
So you never want to put those in down the toilet, for instance. That would be the worst thing.
Do we know what the police do with those things? Though?
They're collected
I
by some
work-
entity, a contractor,
Oh, okay,
hopefully
okay.
pulverized and
Yeah, because
disposed of
just flushing them down,
responsibly.
like.
No.
But it is a very efficient thing to do.
but somebody on, I think it was on Facebook, said that one of the CVS's will take back used
I called the
medicine.
one and they don't.
Right, and they were talking about a different one, I think, and she said, no, I just called and they will take it.
So
And
different
Depends on the
CVS?
Right.
size maybe and how
But-
many they receive or who knows.
Maybe
Right.
it depends
She's-
on who you talk to at the CVS.
And she
when
also,
you call.
like, I asked, is that the medication? She said, well, if they take the medication, they'll take the bottle. I'm like, well,
No.
I don't know what they're doing with the bottle then. And
Yeah.
it just, like, it seemed like for the second post of this, I just thought, oh my goodness, this
Yeah.
is so
It's a
complicated.
hornet's nest.
So maybe we'll stick with
So she
simpler
called,
things to
yeah,
start
so
with.
now, I mean, and there's some confusion in the way you ask the question.
Yeah.
I asked 2 questions. Do you take the medication?
Right,
No,
right.
the local police station takes the medication. Do you take the bottles? We do not collect the bottles.
Right.
And maybe going into the stores, next time I go, I will specifically ask the pharmacist or someone, because it may depend on who's on who's phone, whoever they know. But in any case, you can recycle them if you mail them to Gimme 5.
Do
Right.
it.
Which
if you mail them to Gimme 5, GIMME, and that's the group that used to collect them at Whole Foods,
Okay.
but no longer does because some municipalities collected them. But that was before the Recycle Smart Universal List that says they're not recyclable.
It should be the pharmaceutical industry.
It should be.
It should be.
The
Yes.
pharmacy should take them back.
Yeah,
Right.
pharmacists really should.
But on the other hand, here we go again, you know, it's another little plastic container that has a single use pretty much. And is there a better way to dispense the medicines? I know that there's people using pill pack, other doses in little plastic baggies, you know, in rolls.
Right.
That's, you know, there again, there's plastic there, plastic film, so that's not ideal, but maybe it's better than the bottles that are used for a week or two and then just considered
Yeah.
trash.
And so many of the bottles, if you get a prescription, you get, 15 pills in a bottle this
Yes.
size.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you get 3 refills on it, and you get 3 more bottles that
Yeah.
And
size.
you can't bring the bottle back
Right.
for them to refill it,
No.
right? They
Yeah.
won't accept that at the pharmacy probably.
Yeah. I kind of wish they would just hand them to you in a paper bag and let you put what
Loose.
you want.
And it's got to have the childproof top, you know,
Yeah.
there's all kinds
Yeah.
of safety things.
Which is also old lady proof, so that's not right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something to work on. I mean, I think it's unexplored
Yeah.
to a certain point.
Right. But I will email Recycle Smart about that.
Yeah.
It may be the next couple of recycling things. I will try to be very simple, clear ones.
Yeah, that one's a
Foil,
gnarly
like
one.
ball up foil, things
Yeah.
like that there would be a
Right.
lot of questions about. Um,
It's something to talk to Anti Cape Health about too, actually. Yeah, just advice to give patients from
They
that.
could come up with an innovative solution that
Yeah.
could really be a selling point for them.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, just
It's an idea.
Community
a
selling.
community-wide recommendation about what to do.
Or how to repackaging options.
Like, why can't they do it in metal? Little metal.
Yeah, no reason at all.
Yeah, I noticed this Band-Aid company is offering Band-Aids in little tin boxes now.
As they used to,
Back
yeah,
when
they used to be.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's where my needles collection is going.
And medicine used to be, liquid medicine used to be in bottles.
Okay. And thank you for doing the posts. That's great.
Should I keep doing the boomerang bags? It seems like, how frequently are those going to be?
She sent out a schedule. I'll send it to you guys.
Should I post it every time that there's one?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
It's up to you.
If you
And
feel
again-
like, yeah, it's like once a month.
Okay, again, if anyone has an Instagram page, even if you just have one to look at other people's, please look at ours and like it, because we're still
See, I
young.
kind
And
of forget. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can give me a little lesson. I set it up, but I've never done it.
I can just go through and like them all, just like,
Right. There you go.
just to get us kind of rolling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So printing the recycle info cards. So that was just. Yeah, go ahead.
So we want more of the regular size ones?
For them to give out at.
Okay.
But we were kind of waiting on our finances. Any word on the new accounting system?
I think we should go for it. I really do. I think there's enough money there because we have some that we from previous, hearings.
Yeah, we probably. Yeah, I think we have enough to cover the expense, but we were thinking that we should get a report since it's taking so long for them to convert our
the
accounts.
reporting they're still struggling, I think, with the 2 different systems.
Okay.
And I think they're hoping to just start fresh with the new fiscal year, which is probably July, I guess.
Oh.
I don't
okay.
know.
Maybe I'll stop by and see what I can find out.
Yeah.
Even if they just look it up on their
But
screen.
money
and give it
that
to them.
that we raised with the gift fund, that is separate.
Yes.
That's
Separate account.
set aside.
Right.
And there's money for refill, but there's also additional funds there. Like
Right.
Jane made a contribution of $20 last month.
From our Wellfleet recycled Christmas cards.
Yeah,
Ah, okay.
so there's other money in there that could be
Uh-huh.
accessed. as
Okay.
All right. Well, the card is, Mike said it's fine as it is, so
Okay.
whenever I get
Yeah.
the go-ahead, I can.
Why don't you do we need to take a vote on that
I
expenditure?
think we should, yeah.
Okay.
We should. Just,
Um,
I move that we spend the up to $250 on the Recycle Smart card reprint.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that much.
I second. All
Hopefully
those.
we can get if it can't be done on a town printer, then maybe it can be done inexpensively through look at Cape Cod Tech again. They have a graphics department. Sometimes they're easy to deal with. Sometimes it's been a while.
Well,
since
you know someone in town,
Yeah,
right?
Lisa Benson,
Okay.
she has the best price. I don't know about dealing with them, but when I looked last time, she definitely had the best price for
Okay.
everybody. And how many?
Well, how many did we do last time? Do you know?
I think it was
I mean,
200.
we
I
can
think
look
it
it up.
was. I think it was 200 cards, so it was 100 sheets. Yeah.
The same amount to register.
Yeah. All those in favor of that expenditure? 5-0. And note cards, were we going to order? There was we
Yeah,
wanted
that's,
to order some more?
that's
or-
something that's more of not an impulse buy. It's something we could wait on once we know exactly what our funds are.
Okay, and T-shirts
Better
also,
there.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything on letter writing for producer responsibility?
No. Maybe there's something about these prescription bottles we could write to Powder Cape Health and some other pharmacies and ask them to look into alternatives to the single-use bottle. They might, who knows, there might be some action out there in the country.
Okay. Anybody willing to do that? Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Lydia. Okay, and the zero waste public service
Well, we are.
announcement.
It's almost done, and there's a request for us to stay here after the meeting ends to just take a quick shot of the committee for the public service announcement video.
Okay. Sounds good. Carol, do you have anything to share?
On the Energy Committee, we worked on our annual report, and we are reporting to the Select Board next week on the year. We're hoping to tour the solar array at the landfill soon.
Is that going to be open to the public? I mean,
No,
can other people
no,
go with you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We're thinking the Energy Committee and the Planning Board and the Select Board, so that's
Oh, okay.
that'll be
Right.
pretty big.
Yeah.
And we're continuing to work with the Cape Cod Commission on a grant proposal for the engineering study of low-lying roads and other vulnerable places, and considering a couple of other options for grants.
Did the title get cleared up about
I'm
there
sorry.
was some title issue with the transfer station
Yes, that
land?
has not been resolved yet.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, we don't. The town council is working on
Oh,
it.
okay.
That's all we know.
Okay.
When it does all get, when you flip the switch and stuff, it might be
Right.
good to have a public
They
event.
will
or-
not flip the switch until the title is completely established. So.
Okay.
You mean the grand opening?
Yeah, grand
Champagne.
Let's skip down. I should have.
Probably-
I
probably
should
just
have-
all
looking for a
like
party,
it,
that's
yeah.
no problem.
I should have skipped down to Peter's letter the email that he sent. Down under correspondence, let's just get that because we're patiently waiting. The compost site email.
Yeah, so Peter Lynch is here, and he has been exploring the possibility of a regional compost site in Wellfleet.
Oh, good.
And I just sent some notes back from what I remember has happened in the past. There was long ago a regional plan proposal, I think it was around 2002, that Roger Putnam and a group of other citizens worked on. And that did not come to be, but I described the Wellfleet residential compost operation, and then there has been a plan for a while to have something, I think, in Bourne or maybe Dennis now. It's an Upper Cape, that would be a large facility that could take commercial food waste. But I was hoping that Carrie would be here today so she could give us an update, but that's something we can get an update from the Mass DEP directly, Department of Environmental Protection, because they're the ones that have, I think they identified a contractor, someone that would operate it.
Oh.
That was at least a couple of years ago, but it would be organics only. There's also operations that can handle sludge and whatnot, but they keep them separate.
You mean the one in Bourne or Dennis?
Yeah, an Upper Cape one. That's maybe we should find out what the status of that is and maybe try and really get some facts on that.
Are you willing to do that?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. So Peter, how did you come to this? Is this something that you have been working on, or?
No, just kind of a side project.
Uh-huh.
I recently started attending UMass again, and they have an active composting program going on that's working pretty well.
Oh.
So
Okay.
In Amherst?
in Amherst, yeah.
Right.
But they have the benefits of being surrounded by a bunch of farmland, so they can do large windrows and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But us being tourism town, we have a lot of people coming in and going out. A lot of restaurants is a big industry in our town.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those have, it'd be almost 80-90% of their waste could be compostable in the correct plant.
Mm-hmm.
In industrial, just the heat would dispose of the compostable plastics, the plates, the silverware. Pretty much the only waste that would end up in the trash would be like gloves and the materials that are shipped to them from buying out. But the waste, the negative externalities of the company itself would be handled within the town.
Mm-hmm. The biggest challenges of that, in talking with Tracy, the owner of Winslow's, Barry Hunt, Barry Hunt, that's it. They compost in the back of they have 3 units that you probably know about them since they're next door to your house.
Yeah, she said they're Swedish, and I think they have to be cranked.
Oh, okay.
So they stand, or it's a drum that's on
Right.
a swivel.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's an interest of hers, but she said as a restaurant would need to have daily pickup, and that's really the big thing, is how would you manage it for commercial businesses and with the daily pickup.
They also have, if you have a facility that has a shredder and all that, they have compostable bags as well. So it would be almost like trash pickup. I mean, it's out there as it is. And in the hot heat of the industrial, it kills the bacteria. It kills the weed seeds and all that. So it would, you wouldn't need daily. It would be same as trash pickup.
You could collect it in a wheeled cart, just like you do for one at the residential compost operation at the transfer station. I guess. I mean, maybe you need a few of them at a restaurant. The question there too is the amount of food waste. Maybe you, as a person in the business, you probably develop ways to make sure there's less waste in terms of your prep work and portion size. Sometimes that can come into it, I guess. I don't know.
That's always a goal, eliminate food waste.
May I make a comment here? I mean, a lot of urban places have already started to institute charging people for leaving food on their plate. You can't do that on a municipal level,
Right.
but you can provide that input to restaurants.
On the
You can
basis
say-
that it pays them to deal with it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
basically, if you leave food on your plate, there is an extra charge. And basically, that extra charge is related to the fact of the cost of disposal of that
Yes,
food waste.
exactly.
So it makes sense from just an economic perspective. If you think economics is only money, they do this for buffets especially because it's unlimited, so people feel like they can waste it. But the other thing is also bringing it to people's practical attention that we are taking life for our life. And when you throw life away, what respect are you giving that life that you've taken, right? So that there are multiple channels for this, but I think that's one area that we could, especially in a tourism-based economy, that we should explore a little bit more, is giving restaurants the opportunity to charge people for leaving food on their
I'm
plate.
just thinking practically, how would you extract the charge?
Well, it actually
I mean,
it says it right at the beginning when you get to the restaurant. You sit down. You have a notification that says if you choose to leave food on your plate, you will be charged for it. You charge it like a $5 fee, something. It has to be a nominal fee, but a nominal enough fee that it's it's understood, that somebody, you're making a point with that now.
Right.
I mean, the equivalent that exists now, of course, you take it home with you, don't you?
You could do that too.
Yeah.
That could also be a way of getting people to take it with them. Yeah, exactly.
It sounds kind of punitive and not very hospitable.
No, it doesn't.
I think
Encouraging
it's,
overeating.
there should be another way to get that point across.
Yeah.
For the composting is now with the restrictions such as the Watts Farm that we're doing now, they pretty much just take produce and napkins like you were saying. With a larger facility, it could accept oils, meat, fats, all that stuff. So it would be less work to sort out stuff and more of just all in one to it.
Aren't the oils already recycled by veggie, powered? There was a person in
Yeah,
town
the
who had a
fry oil.
car.
Yeah.
Fry oil is already recycled, right?
Yep.
And Watts does accept meat, so we are composting meat right now in the residential program. Meat.
Oh, they
bones,
accept meat?
Yes.
I don't use
Bones,
it.
meat,
Okay.
fish heads.
I think, talking with Carrie Purcell would be a good thing to do, because she has a perspective of Cape Wide in terms of what's going on. And before the residential pickup started with Dennis as you've heard about what we do locally? Yeah. Mike too discussed about, the amount of land they have and what some of the obstacles would be to having it on site there and what they would need. But you can always do a citizen petition too to try to get something going. But it's a great goal for sure. Were you just sort of bringing it up to us or looking for support on initiative?
I was bringing it up as an option. It's not something I've dealt too much time into,
Right.
but I figured I could throw it out there.
Uh-huh.
I was looking for options for the restaurant that I work at to compost, and with the limitations on biodegradable plastics, or compostable plastics, it makes it pretty tough.
Yeah.
Because with how busy it gets in summer, it's almost impossible to sort out.
Right.
You can do small scale from like the prep kitchens to like at the first stage, but once it hits the table, it's to sort out everything it wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
What if you went to regular silverware or explored using birch or bamboo utensils?
And those all, our waste stream gets incinerated, correct?
Yeah.
So that would still end up being incinerated.
Well, no. Well, I think the bamboo or the wooden utensils could maybe be composted. They're organic material.
There's just no option right now for commercial scale compost. They don't accept anything from restaurants right now.
No. They keep trying. It's every few years something pops up. But yeah. This program and the residential program is doing really well, so maybe that's something that maybe they can expand it.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So back up to, let's see, what did we have? Oh, future concerns. I don't know if these are still select board presentation.
It's something we're supposed to do. I think the select board was asking all committee chairs to go and give a little talk about what their committees and boards do.
Okay.
That's kind of ongoing possibility.
Okay. And was it something particular about swap shops? Do you know?
No, just more will there be a new one?
Yes.
Keeping it on the agenda.
Right.
And field trips, we talked about going to Eastham to see their operation because they do a lot more sorting than Wellfleet does in terms of the basic recyclables.
Right.
Be an interesting thing.
And Carrie had arranged with all the DPW heads in Eastham
to go to
Truro to all on one afternoon, but at our request. But then unfortunately, neither of us could go on the day they came up with.
It's probably better since they're so close by. I think you could probably call ahead if you do want to go.
Yeah.
And see, or go with a friend.
Yeah. And the Green Art Show, that's something Beth was
yeah,
working
Beth,
on?
yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
Well, Beth and Megan should get together, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should. So I have minutes, and then we just have to get back to the town report. The copies of the minutes, I can give copies out to members. You have, oh, you printed them?
Yeah.
There's 2 sides of minutes. And then, and I don't know how we want to do the town report. I have a draft here that Lydia reminded me of some things to put in it, and I haven't sent it out yet.
January 24th, I believe.
Yeah. So I guess if people can look at it and send any comments, I'll send it out, I'll email it to you so that you can send back any comments.
Do you want us to send comments back or? do
No,
we-
if you find anything.
Well, there's a funny thing here, which ends the sentence with a which. I don't know that.
Okay.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, that's the town report, okay. Is that? Yep. Lydia, should we go ahead and approve and then the minutes and then people send me any corrections? Can we do it that way? Because I hate to take all the time for
Yeah, I
everyone to
think
read
the
them.
minutes look good. I read them when you sent them out earlier.
Okay, I sent them last night, so you have both of those, and then I'll send the town report when we get home. And treasury report, yeah, we're still waiting. Under correspondence, Lydia, you had agriculture equipment.
Yeah, there was agriculture equipment. The Shellfish Advisory Board has put out a request for people to explore alternatives to the plastic equipment they use, like the grow bags that they use for oyster propagation, I guess clams too. There's cable ties, zip ties. Whenever they move a bag, they'll clip a zip tie, and then either some will save it and then throw it away, others will just leave it in the water. So,
And those are plastic.
yeah. So they're really concerned about this, and they're working with the Shellfish Constable on finding alternatives to some of this equipment.
Which is great.
Yeah. They have meetings here at the library now, so it's
And the next item, I think, was an email that you got, alternative culture.
there was a person who wrote, he was suggesting taking materials like ceramics and porcelain toilets, some construction and demolition debris, and using that as a culture alternative. And I think that was it's pretty much rejected because there's really strict rules about disposing of construction and demolition, and you don't want that in your waters. But the idea was that the baby oyster spout could glom onto some of this debris. It's there's other ways to get rid of that stuff. They do in fact recycle a lot of that construction and demolition waste, like wood. The wood gets separated, the gypsum board gets separated, the bricks and all that. It does get separated and repurposed or chopped up and reused, something else.
Okay. So our next meeting is February 3rd. Same time, same place. You'll be gone? Yeah, okay. Anything from anyone else? Okay, meeting adjourned at 12:25. Thank you all for